So my personal 2012 BMW E92 M3 has been a personal muse of automotive content for me. It has appeared as the subject of many articles and has been used as a stock image for other articles, particularly on Auto Trader Oversteer, where I have written about the quirks of it, what it has been like to own for 3 years, even a few things that annoy me about it. But this time, as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to show you how well it has held its value over the years. Writing about cars and creating car content is actually my second full-time job. What I like to call my first mortgage-paying full-time job is basically playing Jack Ryan for a well-known online financial company. So this is a case where my knowledge of finance and numbers collides with cars. So first off, I want to talk about why I'm doing this video now. Well, recently I paid off the car and the title arrived in the mail, so I can officially say that it's mine. After doing the article on what it has been like to own my E92 M3, I thought after paying it off, it would be a great time to run the numbers and show you what kind of value still remains on my M3. Before I get to the numbers, I want to call out a few things. So as I've mentioned in previous content, I bought the car used from CarMax back in February of 2016. I won't tell you what I bought the M3 for, just for personal finance reasons. I just don't want to mention that out, but I can tell you that it was very close to the Kelley Blue Book value that is first logged on the on my spreadsheet you will see. And that I think is the most important call out is regarding KBB. So I used Kelley Blue Book to log all of these values. It is a very useful tool in giving you an idea of what your vehicle is worth so you don't get ripped off. And I obviously use it for my M3, use it for my wife's Crosstrek, and I use it for other cars just to determine, what are they really worth, give you a general idea. So it's a great tool. I think one of the first main things you'll notice when taking a look at the data is early on in my ownership, I was checking the KBB value multiple times a month as to catch any sort of consistent value dropping that was happening early in my ownership. But I eventually backed that down and just, checked it once a month and didn't go too crazy. But now that you know those little pieces of information, let's get to the numbers. When I bought my M3 from CarMax, it was a quality example, but I didn't want to believe or live in denial that it was the most pristine example of an E92 M3. So just the purposes of logging the value and just, being realistic about the quality of my M3, I always chose the good value on the KBB site when trying to determine what the value of my M3 was. So for the purposes of all this data, every time that I pulled it from KBB, it was under the good value. I don't plan on going line by line, so you don't have to worry about being put to sleep by that. But as you can see, my first logged Kelley Blue Book value on my M3 was between 35,000 for the low end and 38,000 for the high end, and that was at 34,000 miles. I hit a bunch of the values between 2016 and 2019 to limit the need to scroll through this video because I think that would be beside the point, but the values are all charted on the chart to the right, and I'll provide a link in the description to this data in my video description and also hyperlinked inside my Auto Trader Oversteer article. So I started with a 37,000-ish worth M3 with 34,000 miles, and right now, after paying the car off and getting the title in the mail, I've ended up with a $25,000-ish worth M3 with 67,000 miles. So regarding depreciation, you can instantly tell that for 33,000 miles of happy driving, it has cost me about $12,000 in value. But regarding depreciation and value, you can't really just look at it that way. It's not that simple. As seen on the chart, overall, the value of my E92 M3 has obviously decreased. I'm not going to claim that an E92 M3 is a collector's item that's going to appreciate in value, or at least not yet. I guess I have my fingers crossed that my daily driver that I keep putting miles on is going to turn into some oddball enthusiast investment, or the next enthusiast investment everybody flocks to. But at this moment, no matter what mileage I was putting on the car was still decreasing in value. One thing that you can see, regardless of the mileage, which did climb like a mountain, as you can see on the chart, is the value that what my M3 was worth took a slow, flat hill ride down. It wasn't anything abrupt. It just, while I have been putting consistent mileage on my M3, there's just been like a small little decline where the mileage clearly took the mountain path. Um, as you can see on the chart, winter value drops are well known. If you want to buy a performance car, you should probably do it in the middle of winter because you could probably save 1,000 or two based on just, what month you buy it until spring rolls around and your winter value discount disappears. There was one unexplained oddity from my data for just the last 2 years, which was really odd. Around July, you can see on the chart, there's a slight drop in value for the previous 2 years, and then it goes, back up around August, September. Um, I don't really have an explanation for that, considering it's in the middle of the summer when everybody, wants a performance car on the road. So it was just really odd. Now, it's not a significant drop, but when watching the chart, you can see that there's that dip for the winter months, and then it just consistently goes down. But then there's that kind of a little drop in July, and you just wonder like why did values of M3s drop for 2 Julys in a row? I should mention about the July drop that there wasn't anything that I did on my end to make the value of my M3 drop and go back up. Obviously, there's nothing that really can be done. I didn't drive, as you can see on the data, I didn't drive any consistently large amount in July. Usually, most of the data is 1,000 miles a month, basically, and it wasn't like in July I drove 2,000, 3,000 miles to then drop the value, which wouldn't really make any sense anyway for the August, September, uptick back to being like the normal decline. As you can see in cell K1, I logged the average change in from month to month. Now that number isn't really as useful as you would think, but because there are some significant drops from month to month. Take like November 2016, which is cell G29 if you are looking at the data, where the value dropped $2,600, but the average change is just under $200. So while I'm logging different times of the month, the just being under $200 shows you that while it was a steady downward slope, that there were a bunch of months that were positive that helped chew away at some of these big drop months, like the winter months, which you can see that significant drop and then comes back up strong in the spring months. But I did want to include this because it does show you that the dropping average is really small for my car, no matter how many miles that I was putting on it. As you can see, what I like to call the mountainous mileage line on the chart, but the decrease in value across the mid, the low, and the high was just around $200. So what can you ascertain from this large dump of data? So I think the first thing you can determine is that a 7-year-old E92 M3 with near 70,000 miles is going to cost you darn near the price of a brand new V8 muscle car. Now, if that isn't holding some sort of value, then I don't know what is. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to tell you that my E92 M3 is an appreciating asset, but it is a lower than average depreciating asset. You will not lose all of the value in your vehicle when you buy it used. Regardless of it holding value, I wanted to showcase and log just how a performance car's value can be held over time in a way that I have not seen online. If you have seen somebody else do a nutty log over the years of their value month to month, send it over to me. I'd love to see it because I'd love to know that somebody else cares about the value of their vehicle as much as I do and just loves numbers and cars and things like that. You see plenty of videos and articles and content online that does show you that, hey, I bought you know, this car with this many miles back in whatever year, and now it's worth this much with this many miles. But you really never do see, you know, somebody that goes month to month and shows you the value of their car and charts it and all that. So I just wanted to give, you know, a greater insight into how well a performance car, particularly a Daler driver E92 M3 that will consistently still get many miles, holds its value. So I hope you like this video and this data and just giving you a greater insight into what the value of a E92 M3 is. I hope you liked. Thanks. Bye.